So in some ways, the advice of strangers is a phenomenon that's been part of your life for a very, very long time. It just hasn't been on film.
Brings us to our today's discussion topic, insecurities. So it was also voted that Christian here, my intern, that just drove down last night from Eugene, Oregon, be a part of this.
So you just met?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a complete stranger.
So he's here to help you?
Right. He's here to help me talk about my insecurities.
Oh, today he's here to help you talk about your insecurities, and he just met you last night?
Yeah.
Okay.
He is staying with me.
Okay.
Yeah, you say that like it's weird.
It sort of presents an uncomfortable situation for both of you,
What do you
I
mean?
assume? Having a complete stranger come and stay at your house?
A little weird. Like I thought, like I went to bed last night and I thought that maybe he was going to stab me in my sleep.
I was going to say, right, you don't know anything about him?
No.
Okay.
He knows a lot about me.
Okay.
Where should we start? See, this is where my insecurities pour in. This is why I'm doing this project. Because I can't make a decision to save my life. Like, I need all these, I need advice for every decision along the way. I mean, first of all, if I was decisive, I wouldn't have done a project like this.
Right.
But I think that insecurity leads to indecisiveness. I was always the weird kid, you know? I was the kid that convinced the entire school that there were aliens behind the school. And then everybody, I had them line up along this fence during recess, like the whole school, my whole elementary school. And I was like, they're out there. And I was just running down the line of people saying, don't you see the shiny object? I was totally convinced that there was a ship, an alien ship, that had crashed behind our school.
Okay, so how does this have to do with your insecurities?
I guess what it does is like that sort of then was like, oh, but wait, no one's believing me.
Would you say that your sense of insecurity has increased since starting this project? Because it seems like you're struggling now with a lot. Every session, it seems like you're struggling now with a lot of questions just about this project, your work, where it fits in the art world, where it fits in your life, if it does fit in your life.
Right.
Questions like that, which could be seen as insecurities.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like since this project started, I also started school at the same time, and I think those are two big, huge things to start. And I started therapy. The insecurity stuff is also like, I'm trying to get a hold of my friend Greg Pryor from grade school. Dude won't call me back to save my life or his.
Yeah, that seemed really hurtful to you.
It's ridiculous. Like, you know, like I moved around like 40 or 50 times as a child after I was about 8 years old, and this guy never, I never had a best friend like that again, ever. And so for the person that I connected with as a child, the only one person I want to connect with won't even call me. I talked to his mom. She was like, yeah, I'll pass your number along. Not like, oh, here's Greg's number. He'd love to hear from you, you know?
Okay, so the bigger picture is that that you feel insecure with who you are, who you were in the past and who you are now, and what impact that left on people in your life, even the people in your life in the past that you considered very close to you.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I would agree with you that the conversation with Greg's mother did not sound overwhelmingly positive.
No.
Her response to you
Absolutely
was
not. It was negative. It felt terrible.
So you're left with wondering what their actual thoughts are about you.
Right. And I guess...
the majority of the people, I assume, that are following your site
right.
are people that are somewhat supportive of you in some way. You as an artist, this project, awareness of what you're doing. So I almost wonder if it's sort of the rest of the world that we're really talking about, where you fit in the bigger picture of life and people. Because within the people who know you, who are going to follow you on a website, who are going to volunteer to be your intern, things like that. I mean, I would think for the most part, they're supportive of at least some piece of your work in your life.
Like the insecurity of not having like 2 million views. Like this girl, for example, Justine, she's an internet celebrity.
Okay.
And she makes videos. And she wanted to come in and sort of be a part of this project for a day. And I thought that would be interesting because she works in a completely different universe than I do. But, you know, millions and millions of people view her videos. She'll put out a video and it'll be like, okay, I've got 500,000 views in 3 days. Whereas in my videos, it's like, you know, it's like, oh, you got 500 people, that's great, I guess. But it's so weird how everything in my life now is like quantifiable online. Everything's become sort of quantifiable in terms of numbers and views. I thought about just standing on the street over here and just being like, okay, how many looks can I get? And counting those. And then getting in a clown costume and counting the same amount of looks. I mean, that's how I kind of feel. I feel like, of course, I'm going to get more looks as a clown, you know, if I do that.
When you really get down to what this project is about for you, it doesn't really seem like there's a whole lot of indecisiveness in that. It does seem like you have a mission, a purpose, a reason, a goal in mind. That it doesn't seem just like, you know, whoever can make a decision and I'm indecisive, so let somebody else make a decision. It does seem like there's a part of you that does know the direction that you would like things to go or the support you would like to see. And you have a plan for all of that. A plan, at least, you know, in your mind of how you want things to turn out.
Yeah, I guess. But I just don't know where, okay, maybe it comes down to this. Maybe it comes down to not being able to fulfill myself with the thoughts and ideas that I have. I need external fulfillment.
Why might you need that?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, let's think back to your childhood.
Okay.
And think about what your life was like as a child.
I got support from my grandparents when I lived in Ohio, up in Greg, to some degree.
I think from your story that you sought out support where you could find it. And that was many different people in many different ways. So in some ways you were resourceful in finding support where you could get it.
Right. Yeah.
So what's interesting about your work is to think about that phenomenon in your childhood and think about how it applies now to what you put out there and the support you want to receive from your audience, your viewer. So since you were fairly young, you have felt like you've needed to seek out lots of different people in order to make the decisions in your life. Make decisions in your life.
And the question sort of is like, you know, when you ask advice from other people, you sort of have an idea of what you want to do, but I don't know if it's justification of what I want to do or if it's like just alternative ways of doing it.
So you essentially have a supporter, a fan, living with you at this point.
Right.
And
a stranger fan supporter.
Yes.
Well, he's not a stranger so much anymore because, you know.
But what's interesting is what I was talking about before. I mean, it is a similar way as when you were a child looking for a place to live. When you were leaving home at 14, 15, whatever it was, and you were looking for a place to live, you sought out essentially strangers to take you in. Right? So this it's very interesting how this has happened in your life now, because you can sit there and say, you know, some people would think it's crazy to have somebody you don't even know move in with you. I mean, in some ways it parallels that sort of existence that you had as a child. You sought out strangers then for whatever you want to say, advice, a place to live, support, shelter. And then you did a lot of stuff being resourceful on your own, but you did seek that out then. And in some ways, I do think you're still seeking that. You have really a fan of yours living with you. This isn't somebody who's going to be critical of you or your work or what you're doing.
Yeah, okay, good.
It means weird to say.
That makes me feel better.
But yeah, when I was coming down,
or
when I was telling friends and family about it, you know, I was saying to them, like, everybody else is like, oh, really? Like, I mean, everyone was supportive of me doing this, but then, you know, it's like, oh, well, it falls within the same vein of the rest of us work. Like, most of your work has been related to complete strangers.
Engaging strangers in an absurd principle.
And, I mean, that seems like something you've been talking about in your life. It's like, it's always been a value. It's always been like a consistent theme. Right. So that's why, like, I was like, oh, yeah, well, I mean, like, me being involved in that will just be the same. It's not really that weird for me, because it's like, well, all of his other work has been this way.
So in some ways, the advice of strangers is a phenomenon that's been part of your life for a very, very long time. It just hasn't been on film.